Alright, we've seen this fish one before. I've wound back in time a little bit, doing, what is this, disc number 46? Skip. Skip. Skip, there we go. Not cooperating. Come on now. There we go. Aladdin, huh? This is what, 2000? That Aladdin movie came out. Oh, okay, you know what? There must have been sequels to it. Because the Aladdin movie came out in like the early 90s. The animated one. And I guess it was sort of like they had a bunch of sequel movies that I never watched. I don't remember this being one, or maybe this is just a game. Oh, okay. It's a 3D platformer. Oh my god, that pop in. I mean, that aside. Oh.
Did you know that you can daze dogs, dispose of enemies, and hit targets by throwing apples at them? You have to put your sword away using triangle. Then
I'll figure it out. There we go. What am I doing wrong here? Maybe I should have listened to his instructions. Alright, let's just do this the old-fashioned way.
Long way, big rat. No one passes through this door on...
I don't know. Is that a doorway? Yeah, there we go.
You tempt the gate guard with something.
Hey, fucker. What is that? I don't know, the kinds of games you saw on PlayStation 1 changed pretty significantly from the early days. I don't think anyone would even have tried making a game like this in the early days. I mean, this... Oh, it's another one of them apple guards. Oh, okay, so that one wasn't...
Care for some cake? For only 30 golden coins, it's yours. Thank you. Come again.
That's a terrible interface. Will I die if I fall off here? Probably. Do I need to distract that guy with cake, not an apple? Yeah, are you kidding me? Alright, this is not fun. If there was some kind of a lock-on system or something for the combat. Frustrating. Plus, I never, liked the Aladdin movie. So it's not like this is bringing back memories or whatever. Okay. Some kind of... Oh, not even gonna chase me. Alright, that's enough of this. Let's get out of this. Come on. Not buying your stupid ass game. Yep, I know it's loading. Okay. Gran Turismo 2, is this a demo? It is. Oh. Gran Turismo was a big deal. I mean, it still is. But I might be wrong about this, but I think Gran Turismo 2 might actually be Gran Turismo 2 might be the highest selling PlayStation 1 game. And there were some strong contenders there. I'm bad at racing games, so let's play easy. And I don't like Mustangs, but let's take one. Clever. Covering up your loading screens with that. Oh, we're already on the move. Alright. Oh, shit. Oh. I hit the select button, kind of thinking that it would change the camera angle. And it took me out of the demo. Going back in. Should have read those instructions just now. Clearly I needed to know them. So, I don't remember there being much in the way of games before Gran Turismo that did a lot of things, such as put a lot of cars in, put real vehicles in. Like, everything in this is a real car. We got the Mustang, and it was a big deal for simulation racers. There were a lot more arcade racers than there were simulation racers back then. So Gran Turismo was a big deal, and people loved it. Oh, I do have control. There we go. It's not really my thing. But, you know, people loved it. It's running kind of slow. That's got to be an emulation problem. Gran Turismo looked incredible, though. I mean, it doesn't look like much now. But believe it or not, this was, like, especially the first one in its day. I mean, this one came out after the Dreamcast launched. I think, anyway. I'm not sure about that. For PlayStation 1, though, it looked incredible. The lack of damage... that lack of damage that happens to your cars, though, is distracting. But I think that was a side effect not only of, like, hardware limitations in PlayStation 1. There were racing games that had damage physics on your cars in PlayStation 1. But more to the fact that you license, like, the Ford Mustang here, and Ford doesn't want to see you smashing up their nice and shiny new cars in your video game. So even like you get the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3 Gran Turismo games that looked incredible. Oh, I just killed myself. That looked incredible, but they looked kind of goofy on account of no damage physics. So you'd smack into a wall like I just did and nothing happens. Alright, the performance of this demo is really poor, so I'm stepping out. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX. a lot. I mean, I've mentioned this before, but the late 90s saw an explosion of popularity of these kinds of alternative sports. Not just like the pro skating, but you had the snowboarding games, you had the like inline skating games, you had these BMX games, you had motorsports games. So there was a lot of new stuff. Oh, that wasn't the game. Oh, pressing the wrong button. So, other than the fact that you gotta push the X button a bunch of times in order to, oh, that didn't make any sense. You have to tap the X button a bunch of times in order to pedal, which seems a little unnecessary. This seems very, very Tony Hawkish. And God, they had to stick a damn licensed soundtrack in this, didn't it? I'm gonna get copyright flagged. The song is terrible too. Awkward landing. Duh, he just broke his tailbone. Longest skid. People give a crap about skids. Yeah, I get that. Who made this? Yeah, my name's Player. I'm not entering anything into this. So that was a thing. Alone in the Dark, the New Nightmare. Alone in the Dark. Maybe you could call it an earlier survival horror game than Resident Evil. Certainly the original Alone in the Dark had a lot of inspiration to give the Resident Evil series, the fixed camera angles, the 3D polygonal characters on a 2D background, the monsters in a mansion, that kind of thing. But by this point, Alone in the Dark was more of a sideshow. You had the Resident Evil series, which was still, every new release was enormous. And Alone in the Dark became more of the kind of, Alone in the Dark became more of a kind of the other survival horror. Not even like Silent Hill in terms of recognition or notoriety. Kind of an awkward jump straight in. Oh, okay. Pre-rendered.
Carnby, come in.
What's going on?
Things, terrifying things. Shadows, living shadows.
Aline?
It's awful. Come and get me. I'm begging you, come quick.
Aline! Aline!
Where are you? Oh, alright. Voice acting's not that great. Is he holding a flashlight? How do you turn that on? Oh, he does have a flashlight. Oh, look at that. I do not remember this game. It's not a game that I ever owned. I'm stuck. How do I move? I am so fucking confused. Oh, okay, there we go. Look at this, though. He's got a flashlight that is adding a real-time lighting effect to the background. That is actually surprising for a PlayStation 1 game. I mean, we're clearly looking at pre-rendered backgrounds, but I think we're not quite looking at pre-rendered backgrounds in the same way that Resident Evil does it. I think maybe what we're looking at here is they have that sort of pre-rendered background, but there is a mesh. I mean, of course, there's a mesh indicating where your character can walk. There is even in the Resident Evil games. But they're using that mesh to add, like, vertex lighting to the scene. Oh, okay. Is that a dog? Of course, Silent Hill did real-time lighting like this. It looks really splotchy because it's vertex-based instead of pixel-based. Oh, okay. Where's my gun? Where's my gun? Where's my gun? Where's my gun? Oh, there it is. Okay. There we go. Ah, awesome. Silent Hill is, of course, a fully 3D game. The camera moved around and stuff. That woman we were talking to? Yep, that doesn't look pleasant. Puzzle? Yeah, sure, whatever. Let me take a look at something here. Okay, so yeah, there's a loading screen here, just no, since there was no door opening animation, it kind of threw me off. How do I shoot again? R2 activates the, map, which is not what I expect. Certainly they got an interesting gimmick here with that lighting scene, but the game's going to have to do more than that to impress me here. I mean, it looks alright, I guess, but honestly I'm not too impressed by character graphics that look like this in a game where the background is pre-rendered. Although it's clearly not quite. Look at the wall, like in this area here. How it's shimmering around. This isn't a purely pre-rendered background like just a 2D image. There's definitely a mesh there that this texture is applied to. Alright, so it's not like a traditionally pre-rendered background where it's just an image behind the character. But it is got to be a texture map, but I mean the way it's working seems a little different than what you would normally expect. I mean the textures are high resolution for PlayStation 1. Well, since you're covering it over, maybe it's some kind of a thing where the mesh is sitting there and then the image is just sort of overlaid over top of it and then applied to it without, like, complex, what do you call it, like calculations for what angle the texture is being rendered at. So you're not getting the kind of warping, since it doesn't change angles. You're not getting like that strange affine texture warping. What we are seeing though is some jittering though, because PS1 doesn't support any kind of sub-pixel rendering. So things can just sort of hop between pixels, even though you'd think it shouldn't here. Alright. Time to... Oh, I'm dead. Well, interesting game. I mean, it's got its own little things there, but I don't remember ever playing it. Are we done? Are we done? Okay, I guess we're done. Moving on. So spoiled nowadays by loading screens that aren't taking forever. Tomb Raider 2, okay. It's a demo. It is a demo. There were how many? Controller removed. What? Is this demo bugged? Okay, the Tomb Raider 2 doesn't work, so I gotta try again. Also, oh my god, it drove me crazy when I discovered this, because I recorded the first half of this episode like nearly a week ago, and then while editing it together I realized that after Tomb Raider crashed, all the video cut out. I gotta go through this again. And Tomb Raider 3, there's more than one Tomb Raider game on this demo disc. That's amazing to me. And of course, this is towards the end of the PlayStation 1's life cycle on the official PlayStation magazine. So towards the end, I must have said this earlier in the episode, but towards the end, you had a lot of demos being just re-released. I guess because of the greatest hits. They're like, oh, well, you know what? We can't really get advertisers to go and stick new demos on here. So let's just use what we already have. And, well, Tomb Raider, all the Tomb Raider games are going on greatest hits. Final Fantasy VIII's going on greatest hits. Whatever is going on greatest hits, let's do that. So, more than one Tomb Raider game. Now, this is Tomb Raider 3. Jeez. This game is so difficult to control. I have no freaking idea what I'm doing. But I set off the alarm, which opened this door. I'm being chased by this MP. Who won't chase me into this room for some reason. Despite the fact this is where her fucking guns are held. They just left them on the floor, too. You know, this sort of momentum-based movements... Come on, Laura. Get it. There we go. Huh. Sort of momentum-based movements are definitely a thing of the past. I mean, you do have some games where it is... What I mean by this is, I push forward, slight step. She leaps forward. Which makes it hard for me to... Kill him! Oh man, shoot him in the nuts. That guy took a lot of bullets. There's a lot of platforming in these games, and having to go and place the character in very specific locations and all that kind of stuff. And it can be difficult when your character doesn't just move forward. How do you get up there? Come on, there you go. Pick it up. Now, can I get through this? No, there's no one to shoot. You know, I didn't know what the hell to do. I played this demo before. And I still don't know. And I feel bad about that. Definitely, even though we didn't really get to play Resident Evil... God, I'm on the wrong game. Didn't get to play Tomb Raider 2 earlier because the game would crash. And I tried several times. It just didn't load. Oh, there's a button. It just didn't load. The game just... It didn't register the... It didn't register the controller. So I don't know why. It just didn't work. Come on. You gotta, like... There's gotta be a crouch button, right? There we go. Hey, I figured out what to do. Yay me. Oh, all sorts of stuff just here. This is weird. Are these flares? Tomb Raider is one of those examples of how a game series got better as far as playing goes, and better looking as the PlayStation continued to persist. Oh, was that going to kill her? The original Tomb Raider was actually a pretty groundbreaking game in a number of different ways. Aside from the fact that being one of the first games to really have the kind of sort of hypersexualized female character, and that wasn't really the case, but it's the one that people oftentimes remember. It was also one of the early examples of an actually like working practical 3D platformer on something other than... Oh, it's killing her! You had the N64, which everyone remembers. How do I grab that? Of course, everybody from that era remembers the Mario games. Oh, this is a ladder, isn't it? I don't know what to do. She's going to die, though. Well, anyway, get out of this demo. Everybody remembers the N64 for its 3D games. I mean, right from the start, you had Mario 64, you had Pilot Wing 64. You ended up getting Ocarina of Time. You ended up getting a lot of 3D games. The PlayStation 1, on the other hand, its 3D early in its life cycle was very limited. I mean, look at a lot of the early 3D games on the PlayStation 1. You're like, wow, that is... barely works. It's ugly and all that. Then Tomb Raider comes along. And of course, it wasn't the first 3D platformer. I mean, there was lots of games before that, I'm sure. But it was the first one that like really just went whole hog in the 3D in it. Like 3D environments, 3D character models, voice acting, all that kind of stuff. Cinematics. It was a big deal. And of course, Tomb Raider 2 took that, refined it both in terms of like level design and gameplay and all of that, as well as technology. Laura looked better, the environments looked better, the enemies looked better. I don't think the last Revelation was the last Tomb Raider game on the PlayStation 1. But it definitely shows a substantial improvement. I mean, looking at what I'm looking now, and then comparing it to the original Tomb Raider, it's almost like you're looking at a different system here. Where the hell is Laura? She's got to be up here somewhere. Oh, okay, this is just a flyby. I'm not even playing the game yet. Idiot. The developers were just showing off their environment. That was, I mean, it looked good for its day. All right, so now look at Laura. She looks better than she did as far as like texture design and polygonal design and all that kind of stuff than even the last Revelation or 3, Tomb Raider 3. I wouldn't say the game plays any better. But I mean, look at like the ponytail. I mean, I don't even think she had a ponytail in the original game. I think it was something added in the second game, but it moves much better now, I think. But anyway, it looks better. I don't know if it plays better, but there's a lot of like design choices that they really just showing you how much better games can look towards the end of a generation of console, especially something where the console came about in the early days of 3D like the PlayStation did. So I think I gotta open this door with this Temple of Doom shit here. No. Do what you're doing. No. Look at the, it's got a kind of a real-time lighting situation going on here. Of course, it's not like a ray traced thing or anything. It's just, I'm sure it's, Lara is, there we go. Lara is just sort of walking into bubbles, and it's changing the vertex light on her character model. So, like, that dude brought a torch into their area, so she's lit better now. And the environment's lit. It's actually pretty, oh, no! There we go. Pretty effective. I mean, not something that you see much on the PlayStation 1. I think Siphon Filter had a real-time lighting setup with a flashlight. And of course, Silent Hill did. I don't really recall you know what, Tomb Raider did, didn't it? Because Tomb Raider 2 had that flare. Did the first Tomb Raider have flares? Do I have flares now? Oh, I got lots of shit here. What am I running around with the... There we go. Yeah. And I think you can just drop this in places and everything, and it just sort of continues to light. There we go. Let's get a better weapon, though. If she got better weapons than this, I'm not using the damn... Not using that. You know what? I definitely played this demo on... Shotgun a Scorpion. I definitely played this demo on an earlier episode of Demo Disc Theater. See a few, like, design choices. I can see her ass crack. And what I never assumed before that the clothing she's wearing is some kind of, like, a swimsuit kind of thing. Like a one piece. But you see it, like, riding up her hips. They definitely, like, were completely shameless when it came to how they represented this character. I mean, that was obvious when you were looking at, like, the fact that they hired models to portray the character at, like, conventions or whatever, and they had, like, official models, so it'd be the same girl over and over again, and then I think they went through a few of those. They definitely don't do that anymore. I mean, the whole attitude, political attitude towards female characters is completely different now. At least in the United States and probably Europe. There isn't much tolerance for this kind of thing anymore. And I mean, it's sort of two ways to think about that. On one hand, sex definitely sells, and as strange as it may be, looking at this weird mass of pixels, this is the closest thing to, like, a female form you can have in a game. And predominant audience for games, especially in that era, was teenage boys. So it makes perfect sense to have your character with this kind of design to her. Nowadays, it seems a little weird. Okay, I don't know where to go in here, so I'm going to hop out of this demo. There might be another Tomb Raider game. Oh, let another flare. There might be another Tomb Raider game after this. Nope. Whatever the hell Winback Covert Operations is coming up next. That's a video. I don't remember this, although I clearly saw this video like a week ago. It's a shame that it's... Well, okay, there's some gameplay. Don't remember this game at all. Clearly, I've never played it. I don't remember there ever being a demo for it. And that just looked like a terrible video. Doesn't encourage me to want to play it at all. Gauntlet Dark Legacy. The Gauntlet that I'm most familiar with was the Gauntlet port of the original arcade game that was released on the NES. I remember picking it up at a garage sale when I was young. One of the last... I picked it up at the same time I got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! I remember that clearly. And it was clunky as hell. I mean, the best implementation of that game you could have on the NES. And, you know, I thought it was fun. I played it for a little while. And this, I guess, kind of follows a sort of Gauntlet, well, don't want to use the word legacy, but I'm gonna. Gauntlet legacy, over the top. You play as your different characters, like the Valkyrie and whatever, fighting mobs of enemies. I don't remember there being boss battles in the original Gauntlet, but it looks like there was one there. It's more like the original Gauntlet game was more of like you had enemies to fight, but it was more like you figuring out how to get to the other side of the environment. Hey, look, they blacked out parts of the screen. I wonder why. Logos they're trying to cover up. I mean, they did it really lazily, too. I never played a Gauntlet. I haven't played a Gauntlet in a game in a while. I don't know if they still make them. Alright, so now we're back to Disney's Aladdin. Towards the end of, I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'll say it until I won't have to say it anymore. Towards the end of PlayStation 1, before the PS2 really took over and they started releasing exclusive PlayStation 2 demo discs on the official US PlayStation magazine, these were hit and miss. PlayStation Classic Gran Turismo 2. Gran Turismo 2, great racing game, not really my taste, but not really to my liking, but, you know, people like it. But it's a classic. The game had come out a while ago. I had gotten definitely tired of these Tony Hawk ripoffs by this point. So Dave Mirra, Freestyle BMX, didn't care for. Alone in the Dark, A New Nightmare. I don't remember playing this demo, but I don't remember playing this demo originally anyway, as a kid. But the game, like, it looked surprisingly good for a PlayStation 1 game. Oh, yeah, another example of a real-time lighting situation. Definitely not quite a Resident Evil clone. Definitely did its own thing there. I just don't think it... People don't talk about Alone in the Dark, A New Nightmare. Tomb Raider 2, didn't get to play it, but, you know, it was a classic. Another classic. I mean, they definitely made too many Tomb Raider games on the PlayStation 1. There was the original, 2, 3. There was Last Revelation, and I think there was another one. The hell was it called? Wasn't Legacy. Oh, damn. Chronicles. I think it was called Chronicles. I mean, it was, what, five freaking Tomb Raider games on one console? Oh, my God. And then whatever the hell this was. And Gauntlet. So, it did have a couple of new demos. Dave Mirra and Disney's Aladdin. And Alone in the Dark. So 3 new demos and the rest rehashes and some videos for stuff I don't care about. Aladdin sucked. Whatever. It was whatever. I'm complaining too much. I should end the episode.